Welcome back. Time to dive into the national dailies today. They have some interesting headlines on the front pages. Glad to say we're joined by Ezekiel Nya-Etok, an architect, public affairs analyst, amongst many other things. Mr. Nya-Etok, thank you very much for your time.
Always a pleasure to be on Plus TV Africa. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic, fantastic. And he joins us from Uyo, as you can see at the background there. All right. Let's go straight to the first one. We'll start with the Nation newspaper, which has the following headlines on its front page. The big one there: PDP Board of Trustees fails to resolve Atiku Wike rift. It's an interesting series of events. Yesterday, Wike is currently in Abuja, so let's see how that goes. Trustees divided over Ayu's sack call by Rivers governor's men. Wike's can be made to about two demands. Number one, that Ayu should be sacked. Number two, that Atiku should sign in black and white on the dotted lines that he'll do only one term. It's critical times for the one-time biggest party in Africa. All right, more from the Nation this morning. Why Buhari okayed 1.5 billion naira to buy vehicles for Nigeria Republic. That was a big story yesterday. Lots of Nigerians commenting on it. The previous day, David Hundeyin, Nigerian investigative journalist, had put out a copy of budget office document that said 1.45 billion naira was approved by Mr. President to be used to buy 10 Toyota Land Cruiser V8 vehicles, SUVs for the Republic of Niger. The woman was on TV yesterday. She had to face the press after the Federal Executive Council meeting, and she explained that these were to be used for security purposes in Niger, which by extension affects Nigeria. All right, Russia-Ukraine war, Nigerian varsity to absorb 2,500 students. NBC finds Trust TV 5 million naira for documentary on bandits. I watched that documentary. It's not a new one. It's been there, but I think because the BBC Africa Eye documentary has been trending on YouTube, more people have just now seen the Trust TV documentary because YouTube will suggest it to you. There's a lot of people who are watching it like me. Watched it for the first time after watching the BBC documentary. It was also quite interesting, quite revealing, and as a result for their troubles, Plus TV will donate 5 million naira to the federal government of Nigeria. I hope that money goes to ASU. Next one, Lawan, level of insecurity frightening. This is after he met with service chiefs yesterday and heads of security agencies in the country. Oshomole dismisses row over Muslim ticket. Freed train passenger. Terrorists have moles across Nigeria. Freed train passenger. Terrorists have moles across Nigeria is what he's saying. Okay. More from the papers this time. We go to the Punch on Thursday. It has these headlines. The big one there with a kicker. Rising terror threats. The headline says, National Assembly leaders fret. Rally security chiefs for protection. Is the way the paper is putting in. This is an interesting twist and angle from the Nation, from the Punch. It says rising terror threats. National Assembly leaders fret. Rally security chiefs for protection. The riders to that headline: Senate holds marathon meeting with military, police, DSS chiefs to seek solutions. Attacks on Abuja daring. Terrorists no more afraid, says House of Representatives. IG meets police commissioners. Insecurity most frightening now. Lawan. All right, I think it's come to their backyard, and of course it's expected that they will take note of what's going on in Abuja. Nigeria's budget deficit hits 30 trillion naira in 7 years, page 21. You can find details there. Pay rise. FG excludes state varsities. ASU kicks. Agreement non-binding on states. FG. All right. And outrageous Buhari gifts Niger Republic 1.1 billion naira SUVs. I think the document said 1.45 billion naira. Government defense action says it is in Nigeria's interest. Oyinlola Makinde tipped to lead Atiku's campaign. All right, Makinde was Wike's right-hand man. I wonder if he's shifted base. FG fails to disburse over 11 billion naira fund. This is according to miners. FG fails to disburse over 11 billion naira fund. Lagos man tricks baby mama, disappears with 3-year-old twins. Protesters, gunmen kill abducted Lautech student in hotelier. I think this is after ransom was paid. And the final one from the Punch, FG approves $2.59 billion for Badagry Deep Sea Port Project. Where will the money come from? I'm sure it's a question you might be asking. Let's flip over to the Daily Trust this morning. Of course, this is an organization who is thinking about how to wire 5 billion naira to the federal government in these times. They have the big story. Condemnations as NBC finds Trust TV 5 million naira over banditry documentary. DSTV, Star Times, TSTV also fined. We acted in public interest. Trust management. Activists, academics flay government. Okay, the paper has been doing some very good work in recent times. Even with the headlines that they put out, you see they're trying to be different, and trying to be investigative. And it's expected that at some point you'll attract the attention. Maybe like Two-Face said, if nobody talks about you, then you're nobody. Okay, let's read some of these headlines from the Daily Trust. Northerners in fear as IPOB kills 8 Nigerians in Imo, cuts away head. PDP crisis, close ranks with Wike BOT tells Atiku. Close ranks with Wike BOT tells Atiku. Funding forex crisis grounds indigenous vehicles. And the last one from that paper, insecurity, air chief orders maximum firepower against terrorists. I don't think there's any paper that's given us this information. Insecurity, air chief orders maximum firepower against terrorists. IGP summons police commanders, and DHQ upgrades intelligence management system. It also says bandits shoot AIG, kill orderly in Kaduna. FG justifies purchase of vehicles for Nigeria Republic. Some of the headlines on the front page of the Trust, or Daily Trust. Finally, we have The Guardian. The paper has an interesting take, or interesting front page big story. A bit different, quite different from what other papers are looking at. Funding insecurity stalled $2.8 billion AKK project gas export. Funding insecurity stalled $2.8 billion AKK project gas export. The riders to that, stakeholders consider options for gas export amid Russia-Ukraine war. Divestment, dwindling upstream investment, cloud gas export potential. More from The Guardian. Government concessions, Badagry, deep sea port at $2.59 billion. FG Defense, 1.145 billion naira vehicles purchased for Niger Republic. Sack silver to defend defamation suit in U.S., Buhari urged. IPOB cautions against sale of ancestral lands to federal government Fulani for agricultural project. NBC finds Trust TV, DSTV, TSTV, NTA. Interestingly, yes, 20 million naira for airing documentary on banditry. And PDP crisis, BOT sets up panel to resolve Atiku Wike feud. It's quite interesting what the papers are saying. We welcome at this point once again architect Ezekiel Nya-Etok as we look at some of these stories. I think, Mr. Nya-Etok, let's start with the Daily Trust and their online TV, what they're going through. This 5 million naira fine. The federal government had also had some strong words for BBC. If you watch that documentary, it's quite revealing. It may not be as have the finesse of the BBC, standard, but it was quite revealing, very revealing indeed. Do you think they deserve this fine?
It's not quite a difficult question for me to answer, but I'm just wondering why they would want to go that route. Maybe to discourage other people from giving the public the information that the public already knows. Because all those things are trending on the social media. And I feel the pain of government in a sense, but they should realize that for as long as they do not want to take the necessary action, the people will go out of their way to look for answers. And it is very instructive that while the federal government, I wouldn't say they don't have the information, but I wonder why it would take, if you look at that documentary, the fact that the guy can have this communication and have this detailing tells me that the federal government is in the know of all the details. And why are they allowing us to go through all these pains? I can't understand. I think that we as Nigerians need to have a conversation on this issue of insecurity and what we think should be done.
Let's go over to the Punch newspaper with these particular stories, or the Nation rather, sorry, the Nation newspaper. It gives attention to, unsurprisingly, to the rift in the People's Democratic Party and the moves by the Board of Trustees to resolve that rift between Wike and Atiku. The Wike camp have made some demands. Number one, Iyorchia must go. Number two, Atiku must sign that he will do one term. We hear that Wike loyalists who are members of the Board of Trustees, the likes of Professor Jerry Ghana, were not at the BOT meeting which held yesterday in Abuja. The BOT, they have created a new committee to meet with Atiku and meet with Wike and try and see how they can interface. What are your thoughts on the state of affairs in the PDP?
You see, I think they are just trying to fulfill prophecy and let it happen the way it should, because it's often said that the memory of man is treacherous. PDP was in power, and there was a problem with same River State, Amechi. And some of us that were friends and sympathetic to PDP as at that time, we tried to prevail on Mr. President and the system to close up ranks with Amechi, who was the governor of River State. And they said, to hell with him, they dismissed the guy, and he left the party with 5 other governors. I can assure you that Wike is not a lone ranger. Wike has been a strategic player in the political arena in Nigeria. And it will shock Nigerians, not Nigerians, it will shock PDP where they are going and how it will end. If I were a friend of Atiku, I would say swallow your pride and close backs with Wike. That's the best advice I would give. But on the other hand, because I'm not one of those that is really interested in PDP anymore, obviously, not just because I'm in African Democratic Congress, ADC, but because I really don't feel anything about these two parties, APC and PDP. To that extent, I'm just going to watch them and watch it end. And I foresee a situation where Wike, looking at the situation of things, forms an alliance with a certain force in the north and networks with one of the new generations. I am hoping that it will be with the ADC, but I see, sometimes we mix up between Labour Party and Peter Obi. Nigerians are not particular about Labour Party. They talk about Peter Obi, if you think about it. So a lot of times we mix up things. But you see, in ADC, they talk about ADC holistically, and ADC having come third in the last general elections has relative good structures across the country. So I foresee a situation where there's an understanding, and we in ADC, we are starting to talk with all these people so that, people say that our principal has been quiet. That's because this guy is a strategic striker and thinker. That is how he won the primaries. We have 7 months to general election. So these are the times for in-house strategic, sessions and networking. And I'm sorry to reveal the strategy and game plan ADC, but when we come out, Nigerians is going to be like a bang. It's like this guy has hit us again. Election is not in 2 months' time or 3 months' time. It's about 7 months' time. So you've got to learn to play your game such that it ends on a bang, on a crescendo, on a high, So those are the things that I'm saying. And some of us are saying, well, Lord, let it be as you've pleased. That's why the Bible says that God said he hardened Pharaoh's heart. So why Atiku would not cool down and talk to, Wike, friend to friend, brother to brother, interest to interest, and rather, in my opinion, play the high horse ride. I think that it's just making room for what the inevitable concomitant to come to play.
All right, still with the Nation newspaper, the federal government through the Minister of Finance and Budget, Zainab Ahmed, explaining the whole, 1.145 or is it 415 billion naira story that was put out by investigative journalists. It's interesting to see that this man somehow seems to have forced the government to reveal this donation to Niger Republic. But it didn't come without an explanation. She says that it's in the interest of security. What are your thoughts on this?
They say house goes born, they pursue rat for bush. I think that the concept of national security is not understood by people in government. They see national security as soldiers killing bandits. It goes far beyond that. What is the oxygen in the bandits' exploit? It's the availability of recruits. How do you take the wind off their sail? Is people come back in and look for a way of giving these young people an alternative, which is a better future. Why can't we just be strategic in thinking? For me, I've concluded 2 things, and I pray I'm wrong. Number 1 is complicity. I think there is a certain relationship between the people in power and the bandit. And that's why banditry has become a very big enterprise, and people are benefiting from it. Imagine from the train, the people that they kidnapped at the train, the Abuja train. They've made over $1 billion. How many cows will you sell to make that amount of money? They catch a simple person and they're asking for 100 million naira. This is when it's starting like this, before it becomes an epidemic of some sort, which is assuming dimension, because you discover that once something becomes an enterprise, it's no longer going to be restricted to a race or a people or a tribe. It becomes something that even an Akwa Ibom man will now say, oh boy, I've been here without work. We just go catch person and then even 10 million. How many years work will I do to get 1 million? Not to talk of 5, not to talk of 10. We need to have people who care about this country, who see beyond their personal interest and knows. Yesterday, my strategy team, we're just putting together and we're like, look, what is our unique selling point? What are we giving to the people? And one of the things that is letting people understand that service must be the motivation for seeking public office and its imperatives, So if we come to realize that, then we now start to look at national security from a different perspective. I know what 1.5 billion can do with respect to giving young people a future, a hope, funding, little enterprises. MSMEs, but they are telling me that it is better to spend that money to buy vehicles for people in Niger. And I don't know how many people in the Nigerian end, the soldiers, are having proper vehicles. And when you say, I hope it is not correct that it was 10 vehicles, because at 1.5 billion, you are talking about 150 million per Hilux, and I hope it is not. Maybe they must have made a mistake where they would have thought of maybe instead of 10, maybe 100, which comes to 15 million for each of them. But whichever way it goes, and I wish that they had made donation of innocent, vehicles, so that we know that, like the foreigners do, what they do when they want to give aid to Nigeria, they use it to procure materials from their side and just send us the finished product. So if they had given that 1.5 billion to Innocent, collected their vehicles and send it to them, one would have said, well, the money is to revamp our local industry and also introduce the vehicle to the others who would like it and want to buy some more. That's a strategic thinking that I would have been able to give excuse for. But if you are going to, these days that Naira is hard to find, source Naira to get to dollars and buy foreign vehicles and give to foreigners, bros, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it.
It's 1.145 billion. Sorry, I said 1.415. Yeah, so that translates to 114.5 million naira per vehicle, and there are 10.
Think
10.
of that.
They're not Hiluxes. They're Land Cruiser V8, probably the latest ones.
Bros,
V8 Land Cruiser, 10.
I think I have an idea of, if I just Google it, you don't need to have an idea. Google the cost of a Land Cruiser, even if it is armored, if it is bulletproof. Maybe that's what they are giving. Maybe that normal land. Anyway, let me know. Why not Innocent? Why not using SUVs?
Can Innocent give the level of comfort of these V8 Land Cruisers, the latest one? I mean, with all the gadgets inside, you have screens, you have, House of Representatives, senators, House of Assembly, governors, VIPs use the Land Cruiser these are the high-end SUVs. So they don't use Innocent.
No, bro. You know what? I can tell you this: technology comes for free. There's nothing that an individual cannot fit into a vehicle. Nothing. All you need is give him the specification, and he will manufacture to it. It's simple.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So you're saying that amount of money is too much. Let's stick with the nation. The reason I'm sticking with the nation is they have a story that, or an angle, an aspect of this Kaduna train kidnap victims story. The last batch, I think that's your batch 4 of those who released. One of the released persons has had some things to say. He gave an interview. He's a medical doctor. He works with Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital. He's an associate prof there. He has been telling Nigerians that he treated the terrorists while he was in camp. He treated victims, giving a harrowing account of what he went through in the camp, and saying he wouldn't wish this on his enemies. But there's something he said, and I like the way the nation put it. Freed train passenger, terrorists have moles across Nigeria. Terrorists have moles across Nigeria is what he says. And I'll just read a few lines for the benefit of you and our listeners. It says, one of the freed passengers from the Kaduna-bound train attacked by terrorists in March has advised the federal government to be vigilant because their captors have moles planted across the country. Mustafa Imam, an associate professor of medical biochemistry of the Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital, Sokoto, said the terrorists are well organized to the extent of that trading goes on in their camp. They trade in their camp. He said that the government needed to act fast to rescue the remaining captives and all that. So let's just stop at that. He says they are so organized that they have, strategic moves across the country.
One of the things that I looked about former President Goodluck Jonathan was that he had this capacity to talk almost like a child, to go beyond what they call political expediency and just talk from his heart. You know, remember when he said that my cabinet, they are moles. This is a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that is availed the highest level of security report, intel. He said they've infiltrated everywhere. So what this guy is saying is just going back to justify what President Jonathan had said. If as at that time, then Jonathan had known that, are we telling him that it has become less when we know that the activities have gone higher? It means that Mr. President, Buhari, knows that people are there. What is he doing about it? Who has been brought in? We know who the funders are, and it ends there. We know where they stay, it ends there. Once there are no consequences, it emboldens the people. And remember what I said earlier, it's become such a lucrative, enterprise that Southerners are only too happy. Look, we do fake, or they do fake drugs before now. I mean, even recently we saw what the documentary that NAFDAC did about the guy that was arrested in one of the estates in Victoria Island. So we have conscienceless people all over the country, and if they can adulterate drugs to even such drugs as things that you don't do as much as contemplate.
It's 8 o'clock.
So if they can do that, how much more if it's just to give information and then collect money? And these guys are generous. So I think we really need a government. I pray that this next, because my expectation of this present government is really not much there. I pray that God keep the president alive. They forget about impeachment and they just allow the system to roll on one hand. On the other hand, I pray that we men of conscience like you and I get into this system. Look for somebody that makes sense for you at all levels, including the House of Assembly members. One of the things I would like to end with is that we do not realize that voting is a sacred covenant. There's a reason why you use your thumbprint. It's not just a game, it's not just anything, it's a sacred covenant that is even recognized by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You owe this country that duty. Please, give me this just 1 second to say. Yesterday, I really didn't sleep well over the night because of a discussion I had with a young Nigerian. This person has lost faith and it's like something got to give. 23 will not come. And I asked her, do you know the implication of that statement? These warlords are tested and trained in what you are looking at. And the day that anarchy breaks in Nigeria, God forbid, they will be the chiefs and the controllers, and we will be their boys. We, the educated ones, we, the enlightened ones, we do not understand the language of the street. We don't know, we cannot fit in. Even the freshness of your skin tells them you don't belong to them. And they will deal with you so hard, so bad. So let us wake up as Nigerians and make sure that whatever it takes, 2023 comes to be, and the right person is brought in, and Nigeria starts to move in the other direction. Don't as much as contemplate anything short of free, fair, credible elections in Nigeria and a president emerging. You cannot get everything. We will start the journey of reversing and going back. 2023 must happen, and it must be peaceful, and God must help us to pick somebody that makes sense. This is your civic responsibility and duty as a citizen.
Interesting, very interesting, talking about civic responsibilities and duties as citizens. Hopefully the citizens will pick up that piece of advice from you. But let's move over to the Punch newspaper. Of course, some interesting headlines contained in that newspaper. One that attracts the attention is it doesn't give us room for much cheer. There's little in the papers these days to be cheerful about. Maybe the athletics, victories give us some cheer, but apart from that, not much. So let's take this one. Nigeria's budget deficit, according to the Punch, hits 30.58 trillion naira in 7 years, and the paper says that this is according to data from the budget implementation reports for the third and fourth quarters of 2015. The 4 quarters of 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, the first 3 quarters of 2021, and the first 4 months of 2022, they did an aggregate, and they say that this means that the expenses have exceeded revenue. They're defining budget deficit as when expenses of the nation exceed its revenue. So we spent 30 trillion naira more than we've earned since 2015 with the information they have. And they went on to say that an analysis of the reports on the budget office's website revealed that Buhari's administration had spent at least 54.98 trillion naira on budget implementation since its inception, but has only financed this spending with 24.39 trillion naira, leaving a deficit of 30.58 trillion naira. So we have to guess where the money came from or where the money is coming from. Over to you.
I am contesting the governorship of Akwa Ibom State, and often a lot of times I stay for as much as 6 months without as much as having headache. And I told one of my friends that the last time I spent a night in a hospital was in 1985. I enjoy good health, divine health. But these days I find myself having what comes across to look like headache because of analyzing our governance situation. When I see people selling forms for 100 million, and the level of spending that people are budgeted to run an election, I ask myself, are they really aware of the current situation of our economy? Are we aware of the level of to which our resources have gone down, and that is going to get worse? Because insecurity is number one that scares away investors, and without investment, including Nigerians, I'm not even talking of foreign investors, Nigerians living abroad, they are one of our greatest resources in bringing back, investment, not only of their own, but because they live with the people that we go to find and work for them, it's easier for them to network and bring these people back. The dynamics of progress, the dynamics of a buoyant economy, all that come in. The first layer is security, which right now is missing, which even if we have a new government, it's going to take them a little while to bring back the confidence and everything. And I'm asking, what is really the interest of these people? Are they aware of the state of our economy? Are they aware that whoever is going to come in has to be a man that has to, number one, change the music, number two, go low profile? You understand me? Number three, strip all those things that are frivolous and absolutely unnecessary and go back to meeting the basics. Are they aware of this? In Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom, for instance, if God makes me the governor of this state, the first thing is I shut down the government house in Abuja. I shut down the government house in Lagos. I make away with the aircraft that we have. We come down, even government house has to be changed to governor's residence, where you take care of your feeding, we are given a certain allowance. And all these frivolities have to come to an end, because we need to come to have a government that has an understanding of the essence of good governance, where the security and welfare of the people become the primary motivation and essence of governance. So when we look at the way government is spending, they just don't understand what governance is all about. And because people who see these things think it should be like that, so people are rushing in to want to be president, to want to be governor, to want to be senator. Can we have a system that comes and says, look, this National Assembly, let's have a unicameral National Assembly, let's have a kind of part-time thing, let's schedule it, because we don't have money, because they say tough times need tough decisions to be taken. We are in an emergency. We can't continue the way we are. So it's good that they start to bring out all these indices. And I think that these are the things that are going to form. I want to thank INEC again for giving us minimum 6 months campaign. And Nigerians are going to hold us to account, and they will know what you want to do differently, what you bring to the table. If you like, go and collect all the money in the world. 2023 is going to be a surprise, a shock, and God's deliverance of this country. It's going to be, we must all embark on a rescue mission. I'm so grateful to ADC that our theme across the country, all the states, is rescue mission, and we are strategizing on a daily basis. People, I end on this. People keep saying, we haven't heard from ADC, we haven't seen them, because we need to prepare our house well to come out. And we're going to come out with a bang. When ADC comes out, Nigeria are going to say, thank God we have something we can believe in. And if nothing else, will be a benchmark for others to try to catch up and bring up. We can't play this rubbish politics of speaking loud and saying nothing. This has to stop.
It's a dire one indeed, and I understand the passion with which you speak, Architect Ezekiel Nya-Etok. We have more stories. Indeed, we took that one from the Punch newspaper. Let's look at the security situation in the country with the National Assembly, having a closed-door meeting. What seems like a marathon session with the heads of the security apparatus in the country. This is what the Punch says: rising terror threats. National Assembly leaders fret. Rally security chiefs for protection. Senate holds marathon meeting with military and police. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that it's about the National Assembly leaders fretting, as the paper puts it?
I was in the airport, and a lot of times I like to, some of us have the privilege of being allowed to stay in certain lounge, but sometimes you go to the general because you hear news and you get a lot of info. And one of the guys was saying that the bandits are getting to realize that if they actually go for some of these high-end people, they will make a lot more money. So they are starting to strategize to say, instead of carrying 50 people and feeding them and getting 10 million, why don't we get one high-end guy and collect 50 million? So they are re-strategizing. And I think that from what he said, this confidential information has leaked to the big men. That is why the National Assembly members, who are very easy targets, are starting to fret and feel bad. Now, why would you want it to come to your doorstep before it bothers you? Why this marathon meeting now? And then, we'll be closing your session till September so that you can stay away from Abuja when they started coming. We have this governance system where people think of themselves. They go there to serve themselves. And sometimes I don't blame them, because when people who want to serve you come, they don't have the money that the others who want to buy you. And when they buy you, then you should allow them to savor the victory or their enterprise, because they bought you out. But we are starting to see Nigerians say, look, like in Akwa Ibom, I'm shocked at the number of people. I don't have the money that others have. I don't. Nothing near. But yet I have one of the most vibrant camps, because people are saying, look, we come and support you. We want to stand with you. Your hands may be weak, but like in the story of Moses in the wilderness, we are coming to hold your hands up, so that we want to have somebody that we can believe in, somebody that we can trust. So once we base this consciousness and tell Nigerians, don't be bought again. When they buy you, they will have to enjoy their merchandise. So instead, look for the man that you love, you believe in, support that person, and then put that person in office. We want people who are put in office and not those who buy the office. 2023, I would say it again, is going to be a pleasant surprise for Nigeria.
All right. We look forward to seeing what plays out and that surprise. We have the Daily Trust up next. Earlier put out a headline there: Northerners in fear as IPOB kills 8 Nigerians in Imo, cuts away head. Of course, sometimes supporters of IPOB will say it's not IPOB, that anything that happens in the southeast that is violent, they'll say it's IPOB. But if this is the case, as the paper puts it, And do you fear that it may lead to some sort of reprisal attacks in another part of the country?
Well, one of the things that I find pleasantly okay is that the paper was careful to say there were Nigerians. It means they were not out to cause havoc, because some others would have said Northerners or just Fulanis, and that will infuriate people more. The northern Nigerians who are Fulanis are starting to get really irritated by these foreigners that have come in, because they are becoming the first line victims. Their homes are being ravished. They are being sent out of their homes and from their villages. So they are not happy with what is going on. The northern, Nigerians are not happy with these foreigners that have invaded our territory. So when you put it the way that they are Nigerians, then there's a calm. But I would have been very unhappy if it was that they just said they've killed Fulanis. Then the question of whether it is IPOP or not IPOP, I don't know how they know that this is IPOP or ESN or even they themselves fighting among themselves and killing themselves, because even they are starting to fight among themselves when they get into certain territories where they are like, I'm supposed to control this. Why are you coming here? Where are you from? They are starting to segment themselves. You are not from our team. You are not from our country. You are not. So among themselves, there's been evidence of such infightings, and they are not going to kill the people and then wait and then tell you that we killed them. So let's be careful to identify who killed which people, because amongst the bandits, the terrorists, they have their camps and they have their enemies within their ranks and camps.
Okay, but architect, I think we can also look at, because you talked about the fact that they were said to be Nigerians, and that may mean that these are not northern Nigerians, so nothing spoiled, as they say. But it seems that like the attackers who are described by this paper as IPOB members went out to just kill northerners. They didn't want to know where they were from. And the building that they were in Owerri mainly houses Hausa migrants from northern Nigeria and Niger Republic. So I don't know if they asked, where are you from? It seems like, from what the paper is saying, they just went to kill or to attack people there. The paper says the northerners they interviewed or they spoke to said the building was attacked because IPOB took all of them living in the area to be migrants from the north, not knowing the victims were foreigners.
Well, the issue is, I don't know the details, and I don't want to be speculative over something that is very sensitive. So I was just talking conceptually that identifying them as Nigerians is less provocative than just saying Fulanis, because basically the Nigerian Fulanis are becoming endangered species by these rampaging terrorists from outside the country.
All right. I'm sure that we may see some stories, I believe. Probably we may see some stories later in the day of denials from the group, or maybe a clearer picture about what I was IPOB or not. But like you said, these are dire times for the nation as far as security, the security situation is concerned. Ezekiel Nya-Etok, thank you very much for your time.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, I would have you same time next week. Time to take a look at what happened today in history. It is the 4th day in the month of August 2018, and we'll look at what happened today several years ago. We'll be right back on the other side to talk security on The Breakfast. Please stay with us.